Hello, everyone. I'm in the middle of recording and editing like a longer Crimson Desert video and having an absolute blast playing that game. Um it's feels so cool to be in the moment with it, you know. Everyone's playing it for the first time and discovering this huge game as a community, kind of like, when Elden Ring came out. It's super fun. It's an exciting time. But I want to make more Slay the Spire 2 videos also and finish up Resident Evil Requiem. But just stuff that I've had going on in my personal life has slowed down my ability to make videos as quickly or as regularly as I would like to. But I'm just doing this as a hobby for fun. So whatever. But there's some other things, video game things that I wanted to talk about. So I thought maybe I would just hop on and chat a little bit. Um, I guess, and I think the first thing that comes to mind is uh is Harada stepping away from Tekken. And like I'm by no means like a big fighting game person. I'm no expert. Um, I like to watch, like I watch like Jay Wong's content and I watch Maximilian Dude's content and I like watching Evo from time to time here and there. Um, and but in like in I guess not a small way at all, not a small way at all. Like Tekken had is a big part of my history with video games and my journey into them. And I think it established a lot of my interest and my taste that I think like maintained um, over time. Like I can still see like its early impact. This watermark on my on the lens through which that I continued to consume and digest video games throughout my life. And let's look at this is the genuine article right here. This is it, everyone. Reflection from my screen. Tekken 2, motherfucker. Original PlayStation 1 copy. Obviously, it's not Tekken 1. I didn't play Tekken 1, but this was the first PlayStation 1 game I ever played. I came home from school one day and my stepdad had gotten a PlayStation 1, hooked it up to the TV, and this was the first game that he bought. I don't know why. He and I are not on speaking terms anymore. And to be quite frank, I don't think we ever will speak again for the rest of my life. And that I'm not getting into. But I would be curious to know like what made him buy this. Because I don't think he had played Tekken 1. And I don't think he was a big fighting game guy. So I wonder why he picked this of all things. I was 5 years old, but yeah, I just remember that. So this was like prior to this, I had an original Game Boy, and I think I had played like Tetris, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, and a couple other things. But I think that was it. Like arcade games, like Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Galaga, things like that. I had played at pizza shops, arcades, movie theaters. That's where it was at back then. That's anybody will tell you. Okay, that was the landscape. And this was the first home console game hooked up to a television that I ever played. with a controller in my hand, not like a handheld console where the buttons are on the connected to the screen in one unit. And this game like had such incredible style. Not had, has, you know. Thorhighheels YouTube channel has a great video on Tekken 2 with a term that they claim to have coined themselves called Sophistifuture. And it goes on to include, I think, things like Final Fantasy VII, and it's sort of this like romanticized um, meeting in the mid to late 90s, maybe even into the early 2000s, of like this stylistic approach around like Japanese aesthetic and like Western kind of like Judeo-Christian aesthetic with like Japanese urban aesthetic, you know? And it was like this like near future dystopia, but sort of like lush, sophisticated, kind of beautiful darkness, you know, that also had like sci-fi aspects and like occult aspects, you know? There was there were things that were alien, there were things that were magic, you know, technology, angels, demons, you know, whatever. Lots of leather and you know, no boots, zippers, um, Nomura designs. You know, I think some of this bleeds into like Kingdom Hearts, but you know, like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII. But Tekken 2 is a big one that Thorhighheels talks a lot about in that video. Heavily resonates with me because like beyond like the game being fun mechanically, like as a fighting game, which it is, and it's not from like a gameplay perspective, it's not a much deeper experience than that. You know, you didn't get fighting games that, you know, had this like wealth and breadth of like single player content to like invest yourself in alone um until like Soul Calibur 3 and like what was the first Mortal Kombat that had like a weird create a character story mode thing, like Deception, Deception or Armageddon, one of the ones with the names, not Deadly Alliance. I want to say it would have been like Deception or Armageddon, was it called? Those kind of like the, I think it was like the last two kind of like PlayStation 2 era Mortal Kombat games. But Soul Calibur 3, I think, is the big one by anyone's metric. Um, and so, like, beyond Tekken 2 just being a fighting game, which it's a good one for its time, it's a great one for when it came out. Um, uh, it had such a world, it had such a narrative, it had such style and attitude and presence. It was this game had a huge presence jumping off the screen at you. Um, the endless backgrounds, the music, the characters' outfits, their design. Um, you know, there's one stage where it's there's sort of like this regal decorative floor, and it's almost like the floor of like some like sophisticated old mansion or something, and there's no background, it's like black, and there's like a spotlight shining down illuminating the floor and the two characters fighting. And as you move, you know, there's floor underneath you, but you can only see in that spotlight, and it's black around you, and it's like, brother, like that was some heat. That was some Michael Mann, Val Kilmer in the streets, emptying the clip type shit, brother. Okay, like and like Tekken 2 is was the first console game that I played. First time I was manipulating a video game on my home television, and and it had so much mystique. It was just had this like rich artistic value, and that was apparent to me immediately, even at 5 years old. And oddly, right now in this moment, I feel pretty emotional talking about it. Like I feel a little choked up. Like it's um huge for me in my life and like what I love, what I'm into, what like enriches my perception of art, and creative media. Uh, Video games are such a huge part of that. Tekken 2 is such a huge part of that. Um, and yeah, Harada is a pillar. He's an icon. He's you know, he's another Hideo Kojima. He's another um, you know, he's another Iga. He's another um Sakurai. He's another um Sakaguchi. He's one of the greats, like the impact that he's had and the projects he's been a part of and the community that he's fostered. And it's time for him to step down and live his life. He's done a lot of work. I think Asian work culture, it's Japanese work culture, I think is not dissimilar from Korean work culture. It's they work really hard and they really personally invest themselves in it and dedicate themselves to it. And we as the consumers benefit, you know. And they honestly, all of those people, they probably don't get enough praise. They probably don't get enough appreciation, honestly, in my opinion. And so, but just what a huge moment, what a huge time for him to move on and separate himself from his baby, from Tekken, you know, to just hand it over to other people, to a new generation, and to just like step away to live the rest of his life, do other things. Like maybe he's going to work on other stuff, but just to move forward. It's inspiring, honestly. That he's ready to let go, and he's ready to do new things, whether it's video games or just stuff in his personal life. He's already accomplished so much, and he can do more now. You know, um, I'm sure it's a hard move, really hard move for anybody to make. Uh, and yeah, utmost respect and appreciation to Harada for his work on Tekken. The impact it's had on me and my life. And, I feel like Tekken games and the series as a whole, the community it's created, the moments in the FGC, those characters, you know, their style, all of it will stand the test of time. Truly, truly, truly. People are always going to look at Tekken when there's a conversation about video games. Tekken is Tekken's up there with Mario, with Zelda, with Metal Gear Solid. Um, and damn, this is so cool. Video games are so cool, and I think it's easy to forget sometimes that there are people who spent their whole lives working on them, their whole fucking lives, adult lives, you know, making these things happen. And these things that become so personal for us, it really is somebody else's like whole life, their whole fucking life that they've poured themselves into this thing that then becomes ours. In a way, it's like immediately out of their hands, you know, when it goes into ours. Um, so, and I still have this. I keep this up on a shelf in my apartment with other video game stuff that's sentimental to me. But, you know, I'm always going to have this somewhere in my house. I don't care how old I am. I'm definitely never going to be dating someone or living with someone who would make me put this away. Anybody who's rocking with me, they're rocking with me fully. They know I'm a freak about this shit. 1994, 1995, 1996, Namco. Maybe it was like 94 in Japan, 95, 96 in other countries. More than a sequel. The undisputed number one fighting game on the planet, says on the top. And the little blurb from Game Pro magazine. Tekken 2 is every fighter's dream. Great moves, depth, tons of secrets. It reigns over everything so far. And then there's a blurb underneath that. Brand new 3D animations. Cinematics at their finest. All new intro sequence plus animations for each character. Not found in the arcade version. Rated teen for animated violence. You got the lightning strike back of the instruction booklet. And then, of course, the disc itself with what you got there? Julia, Nina. Oh, June first over here. Nina, Julia, Lei, Lei Wulong. Was that his name? Yeah, the cop. Paul Hihachi, Big Daddy himself. Look at him fucking aura'd out on the cover. Hihachi. Damn, it's such a good cover. The purple and red and silver. Dude, slick. This thing is hot. Still warm to the touch. Yeah. And now I'm playing Crimson Desert 2026. Video games. Who's going to make a video 25, 30 years from now talking this sentimentally and affectionately about Crimson Desert? Someone will. This game is going to change some kid's life. So fucking cool. Have a awesome rest of your life, Harada. Thank you.